Hi friends, this is Prem. I know everyone was very happy about April 2026 visa bulletin. Yes, it was a jackpot and back-to-back jackpot because March 2026 visa bulletin also we got a good movement on the date now again. So it creates a question, what is the reason behind that? Because if it is going this much fast, definitely it will retrogress at this some point because we have seen already. So we'll discuss these questions to our attorney Henry. He is from Manifest Law and Manifest Law is giving a free consultation. So if you have any question regarding your green card process or any visa process or any I-485, you can ask them. It's completely free. Let's go. It's going to be a very useful session. Thanks Henry for your time and happy to meet you after a short break. Before going to the video, வணக்கம் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
வணக்கம் நல்லா இருக்க இங்க
Yeah, I'm good, Henry. I hope you have seen April 2026 visa bulletin updates. So before going to the question, how you are feeling about the April 2026 visa bulletin?
I was very surprised. Every last few months there's a visa bulletin out, and I keep saying, well, this was a big jump, but now it's going to slow down, and then next month again there's a jump. So very surprising. Good news for people who are applying, of course, but very surprising for me that we keep seeing this much movement.
Yeah, even last visa bulletin also we have discussed this. When we see in this much of movement, we thought, okay, there was more unused family-based green card, so the employment-based green card is moving fast. Now it's the same logic applicable for this April 2026 as well.
Yes, and I wonder if the pause on the immigrant visa processing overseas is having an impact. Maybe the people who are looking at the numbers and making the predictions at the Department of State who are publishing the visa bulletin, maybe they are taking this into consideration, how much fewer numbers they are using at the embassies, and that could be the strategy to just allow as many possible on the US side to file adjustments and use up the numbers instead.
We can see that EB1, EB2, EB3 of dates for filing for rest of the world move to the current. So it is definitely a very good news for the Indian backloggers, right?
Yes, absolutely. So when I'm looking at the final action dates, the biggest jump was for India, 2013 to 2014. 10 months even, so that's a big news. That's a big jump for Indian applicants.
Yeah, exactly. At the same time, for dates for filing for EB2 and EB3 of India move to the same date, around 15 Jan 2015. So they move to the same date. So it creates a lot of questions around. A lot of people ask this question: will it retrogress?
I've been wrong several months in a row with my predictions so far, so I don't know how confident I can be, but I would say as long as the processing pause is in effect for overseas for 75 countries, I think that visa bulletin is going to stay as is. But if for some reason that processing pause stops in the next month or two, whether it's policy change or whether there's a court case, for example, and they just say, hey, you need to start processing cases again, then I think there might be a retrogression. So it really depends on what else is happening, but I could see a scenario where lots of people file for adjustment of status, and then at the same time, they open up the immigrant visa processing in the 75 countries again, and all of a sudden there's a flood of cases total, and then that would push for a retrogression.
Yeah, it makes sense. So now they are moving the date because they got the unused visa from the family-based green card. If they have more visa and very less people on the USCIS to process, definitely the date will not achieve the dates for filing. It may retrogress, right?
Yeah, and in the future they anticipate fewer embassy interviews. Then they are probably adding that to the USCIS side, that okay, we can increase the number of AOS cases filed in USCIS if the embassies are not actually printing visas anymore, because embassies or consulates do not schedule usually people for an interview unless there is a visa available, because they don't want to interview somebody and then have them just sitting around for months and months and then have to invite them again for a new interview with the new background check and the new medical exam and all of those things. So usually they never even schedule anybody for an interview unless they are already current on the final action date. Whereas on the USCIS side, they can use the dates of filing and then get the process going. But at the consulate, anybody who is getting interviews is usually already on the FAD, they are current. And now the policy for the people who are in the 75 countries where there's a pause is that people are getting interviews, but after the interview, they're just in admin processing and they are not getting the visas. So usually it used to be that the visa gets printed, and that means immediately that they've used up the visa numbers now. So that's not happening. So I think they are looking at, on average, how many visas got printed in those 75 countries. If they count them all up, that's going to be a big number, and now they're just putting that whole number on the uscis side for future. But like I said, if the embassies start printing visas again, that's where we're going to have probably a retrogression.
When you said now the embassy has closed for so many countries and 75 countries, they have some travel ban kind of thing. So this unused visa will come to the next fiscal year, right? Only 2027, right? Not on this fiscal year 2026, right?
That's true, yes, but they are already seeing that those are not being used up. Then that means they already are anticipating that that's going to be usable for EB for next year. But it is usable for family cases this year, right? So that means it could impact also what is happening on the USCIS side this year, right now, for the family cases. For example, if you are a green card holder from India and you are sponsoring your spouse, that usually has some kind of a wait list, right? And that wait list can now get shorter because of this pause on the consulate side.
Okay, so makes sense. So now they anticipated, okay, these many numbers will come in the next year, so that's why they are moving the dates. They are giving some cushion. So it depends. It's all depends on how the embassies and consulates are processing and how the travel bans are going on. So many things. So it's very tough to predict. I can understand, Henry. So
yeah, we need some good AI for this.
True. So now USCIS agreed to use the date for filing to initiate the I-485, right? For April 2026.
Yes, I believe they published it just a little while ago.
So now the more people ready to go for the I-485. So what are the general advice they should follow in order to avoid the time delay or in order to catch the train at the right time?
Big thing about the filings and the visa bulletin is that if they tell you that the visa bulletin is current for April, then it means that you need to have the case arriving at USCIS in the month of April. So if it arrives on May 1st, that's not guaranteed anymore that it's going to be current. So you have to wait for the next month's bulletin. So if you're looking at the numbers for April and you have an eligibility to file, then you should start preparing your paperwork now to make sure that you're going to have everything ready for the April filing. Number one, for 485s, you need medical exam, and that means start looking at doctors and availability and making appointments now, just so you could have everything ready. Because some cities, the doctor appointment, you can get it in a few days, but in other places it might be 2 weeks wait list, and especially if there's a lot of people rushing to get filings done, then the wait list for doctor appointments is going to be longer.
Have you heard any cases where they exclude the green card interviews now?
I have seen both ways. Recently, I had an Indian client in Pennsylvania that did have an interview for their EB1A. Luckily, everything went smoothly, and about a week later, they already received their green card in the mail. And then another one was somebody in Minneapolis, Minnesota office, and they had their interview skipped, and then they just got their green card in the mail, so they didn't have an interview. Both are EB1A cases. So I don't have a lot of data in terms of which offices are more likely to skip the interviews, but it does seem to be that not everybody is getting an interview.
Earlier, I'm just talking about the 2 to 3 years before, where the dates were moving very fast, and the USCIS itself, they skipped the interview and they were issuing the green card very fast without interview. So is there any possibility again USCIS take that policy to issue the green card without interview?
It could be. I mean, if we're seeing so much movement on the visa bulletin and USCIS is effectively encouraging more and more people to submit 485s, then we could be seeing a reduction in the interviews. I don't think this administration would make a public policy of saying we're going to skip interviews. It might be a quiet strategy that they just start decreasing how many interviews are scheduled to keep cases going.
Cool. Some people are asking, so what should they do if they don't have that birth certificate?
If you Google Department of State reciprocity schedule in the Department of State website, where you can see the types of civil documents that are required from different countries. You can also see like visa categories, who's eligible for visas in the US and things like that. But the most useful part of it, I think, is the civil documents section. So if you find that website, you click on India, you will see the different documents. And under birth certificates, it'll tell you that, if I remember it correctly, somewhere in 1969 or 70, India passed a law saying that all the births and deaths should be recorded in the country. Unfortunately, it's a big country, and not all states were actually right away starting to enforce that law and implement the structures necessary for actually recording it. So the Department of State says that from 1970, you should have a birth certificate, but not everybody does. If you don't have a birth certificate, then you need to have a proof of non-availability, meaning that there should be a letter or a document from the local government whose job it was to record the birth, and basically explain why it doesn't exist. And then you can also use things like school certificates, like secondary school, showing that the grades, and then it includes the name of the parents and the child, and then affidavits from family members, from the parents, notarized and stating that here is the date of birth, the location of birth, and reasons for why there was nothing recorded. There's some good instructions on that website, so that's what I would encourage everybody to double check. But it's pretty common for some states in India, so I've seen several cases filed with these affidavits and alternative documents, and usually USCIS has been accepting them.
Wow, that's a great news. And people, please don't hesitate. If you are waiting for your date, or if you are thinking your date going to be current soon, please schedule an appointment with Manifest and just check whether you have all the documents to process. If you don't have the documents, there are alternate ways. Please check with them. And we discussed, yeah, very very good session today. Thanks for your time, Henry.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Nandri.
Nandri.